UBZs best recognize when a real one speaks, spitting nothing but facts and gospel. You're listening to the Ether with D-Cal. For Sheezy, he be the truth.
So, let's start with the E.I.T.H.R.
Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday. Today is the 17th of June, 2022. It's your boy D-Cal hosting the E.I.T.H.R podcast. You can go ahead and check us out here at the GNS Studio HQ here in Sacramento, California. Hope everyone had a really good, productive week. I'm pretty confident we did. I wanted to thank everybody for checking us out. We have a few more subscribers, and I'm extremely thankful for you guys supporting the podcast. Episode number 12 coming at you right here. So anyone who knows anything about the podcast, we like to start everything off on a positive, encouraging note. So what I would like for everybody to do is to, over the weekend, go get a book. Buy a book, do some reading. Some of the books that I have lost, that Lord knows I wish I can find again, were books like self-improvement books and things about starting business, and John C. Maxwell, Robert Kiyosaki, and some authors like that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the same type of topic that I'm into, but if you guys can, man, go get some books to read. Just take some time to read at least one chapter at a time. Just give yourself a break. Usually when you read something, it allows the brain to process life differently, see from different perspectives, be able to just focus a little more clearer on things that you normally would not be able to focus on. I've missed reading, and it's definitely something that I need to get back into on a consistent basis, and everything going up to this weekend, I definitely will. So also make sure you guys follow us on social media on the Twitter page. I know a lot of you don't like the Twitter. You don't really understand the Twitter. But the Twitter is very much like Facebook. The difference is you just have less characters to type. So you have to be really good and creative with your words. So you can follow us on Twitter at the E.I.T.H.R. And you can also follow us on Instagram at the E.I.T.H.R. That way you'll be able to get a hold of us, so on and so forth. So that's that. So now we got the encouraging things out the way. We want to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of everything. One, I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. Adam Smith. I've known my man since, 2008, 2009, when we used to do security together at Zoku nightclub on 419 J Street. And, he started his own martial arts school out here in Elk Grove, California. Shout out to my brother Andy. He's his right-hand man who also does the adult class for the martial arts school out there in Elk Grove, California. And so it's called Warriors Martial Arts. And it's located, let's take a look right here on the flyer that I have. We're going to get our webcam up soon, ladies and gentlemen, so that you'll be able to see me, and I can have my guests actually live during the videos of the podcast. So it's going to be audio. But it's 2521 West Tarrant, I believe that's how you pronounce it, T-A-R-O-N Court, again, out in Elk Grove, California, suite number 100, 95757. So my man's a top flight instructor. He and Shunshifu Holmes out there doing their thing. So big congratulations to them on making that magic happen out there in Elk Grove. So had to go ahead and give them a shout out. So now that we did that, let's get down to business. So we're gonna just let's do it. Anyone who knows what that sound effect usually means, we're going to deal with the elephant in the room, that's the acronym for the ether. So it's a topic that people really don't want to talk about, don't know how to talk about, don't really know how to get into the mix of it. We're going to get down to business right away. First thing I want to do is talk about one of the things that's going on in society when it comes to division. We already know, unfortunately, the division we have when it comes down to hate, when it comes to color, when it comes down to gender. We also dealing with some issues when it comes down to sexual preference. And I have my itinerary that I wanted to go ahead and do right now for the ether. But I'm going to jump right into this topic because this is something that definitely needs to happen. There's still a lot of crap going on with issues with color of skin. And I know people don't want to talk about it. People want to try to do their best to avoid it. But that's one of the issues with the country is we don't like to address the issue. We want to kind of sweep it under the rug and act like it doesn't happen, act like it never took place, and just go on about our merry way. But that's not the case. We really need to do something about that crap. Okay, when it comes to that stuff. But again, I guess some people like the hate that goes on because it gives them a feeling of superiority or whatever the situation may be. But that's definitely something that needs to be addressed about that. So the elephant that I'm going to talk about today is people have this feeling when it comes to sexuality. I know when I was younger, immaturity, I would say some things and not really understand what it meant, or more importantly, I didn't understand how it would affect or hurt somebody by saying some jokes that I thought were innocent. But it's really simple, man. What you do is you take what offends you and you insert what is offending somebody else. And that's kind of how you have a feel for empathy. So there's this belief when it comes to with our youth, you can make a child gay. I don't understand that kind of mindset of how you can make a child gay. You can't make a child heterosexual. So how the hell are you gonna make a child homosexual? Children don't know anything, y'all. They don't know. They don't understand. They have to be shown. They have to be taught. They have to be educated. They have to be groomed. They have to be displayed. They have to be given direction on certain things. And adults, we take some of our clouded judgment and we pass that on to children, and children are sponges. They mimic what we do without understanding it. I mean, come on, think about it. We would emulate what we saw adults doing. That's why when we grew up, we had candy cigarettes, right? We didn't understand the dangers of smoking, but we pretended to smoke because we saw it was cool in movies and TV and music and our parents doing it. And again, when you're a child, you see adults doing all the things that you think are cool. So you want to emulate what it is, but you don't understand the work that goes into it or the reason that goes into it. So when it comes to stuff like that, the personal preference thing or the sexual orientation thing, you have to understand, bro, like, no one is trying to make your child gay. Now, I do understand that there's certain people with certain agendas when it comes to making, certain topics like, or certain lifestyles like pedophilia, or when it comes to possibly targeting a certain race or culture about, sexuality. Okay, I get where some of those instances can slip in, but apparently there's a thing where you have I don't know if it's the actual name of it or not, but it's called drag reading. Okay, where you have drag queens who are at libraries or different places, and they read books to kids. And a lot of people have a problem with that. Here's the thing: if you don't want your child attending something like that, don't take your child there. It's really simple. It's really simple. Don't have your child attend, because you have heads up. You have an understanding that this is going to be there. So why are you shocked and shaken about it? I don't know. I guess because being a black male and having situations where someone judged me based on how I look, without anything about my background or anything about my beliefs or anything. They kind of just judge what they see. I have a little bit of an empathetic perspective when it comes to people. Anyone who knew me growing up, I was a social butterfly. At least I thought I was a social butterfly. A couple people told me you were more social than you thought, and I had friends in all kinds of different circles. I just didn't see certain things, bro. I didn't, there were certain people who were quote unquote gay. Maybe I knew they were gay. Maybe I had a feeling that they were gay. Maybe I had this belief that they were gay, but I never saw them as gay. I saw them as such and such. I saw them as so and so. I saw them as blah, blah, blah. I never really, that I can remember, had a problem with anybody and their sexual preference whatsoever. To this day, one of my closest friends, she moved to Vegas, and she helped educate me even more when it comes to the topic of, homosexuality. I'll never forget this. She told me, David, nobody ever makes the choice to be gay. Think about it. You think somebody actually sits back and says, you know what? I want to choose to go through and spend the rest of my life being persecuted, being harassed, being bullied, being assaulted, being judged, and being mocked because of my sexual preference. I think I want that. Matter of fact, I'm going to endure that. Fuck no. Right? And I kind of came with the conclusion, it's almost like I didn't choose to be heterosexual. I am. It's not like as a kid, I flipped the coin. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it does, but a lot of people have this fear. And I remember back in 04, 05, when we worked together at Sprint, we went to Faces, which was a gay club here in Sac, and 70 to 90% of the people who had Faces were straight women. They just didn't feel like getting hit on by creepy ass heterosexual men, so they would go to that club, and they had a really good time. So the first time she took me to Faces, I'll never forget. My mind is thinking of your typical straight male. And my head was on a swivel, boy. I'm telling you, I was so paranoid. Even though I never had an issue, I'd never been, quote unquote, surrounded or in a room where it's primarily. So it was a different feeling and experience, which shows me deep down, I wasn't a bigot towards or had hate towards. I had an ignorance because I didn't know. And I remember, no matter where we went, I made sure that I was like against a wall. And when we sat by this bar, I sat in a corner with my hands both to my side, and I'm like as pressed up against the corner of these two walls as you possibly can. And she's laughing at me, but she understands, but it's funny. So when we left, I invited one of my homeboys, Damon, to go. And it was, man, I'm telling you, like clockwork. Dude did exactly the same shit I did when we were out there. Because at this point, I've experienced it. I understood. I was like, okay, it's not as bad as I thought. It was more people than I thought. You know what? Everyone was cool and respectful. And so when we looking for Damon, I'm like, where's Damon? And she's like, your boy's where you were last week. And I look, and my man had his head on a swivel, eyes like he had just did coke, and he's just in the corner making sure no one sneaks up behind him. And I said to her, I said, is that what I look like when I was here last week? And she was like, actually, yeah, that's exactly what you look like. That's why this is so funny. And it kind of made me realize how I look when in actuality, majority of fellas, this is for y'all. Majority of homosexual men, they're not attracted to us. They're not. For two reasons. One, you're not their type. Two, they know you're not interested. So they're never going to make that move to be disrespectful to you. The only thing they ask is you just be respectful to them. That's it. So most straight men, we tend to have this egregious and outrageous imagination when it comes to it. Bruh, it's not what it is. And I'm sure there's somebody who's listening to the podcast right now making sarcastic comments and remarks. Like I said, bro, I've done it. So I get it. But I can almost tell you right now that if you were to talk to one of them, they're not seeing you the way you see women, you know? And if they do, legit, they're not going to act on it unless you give them a clear-cut sign of approval. Because again, they don't want to be disrespectful across anything like that. They don't want to cross that line and make you feel so you ain't got nothing to worry about it. The reason I'm bringing this up is because, man, there was an issue, like I said, with parents having their kids at these. I can't think of the name of it, so please forgive me if I'm saying it wrong. But these drag reads, like I said, and there's a National Straight Pride celebration. They want to have Straight Pride Month, and I just don't understand what is the purpose of having this pro anything that goes against the traditional quote unquote Christian American perspective of how this country. Listen, this country is a fucking walking contradiction, bro. It's a walking contradiction. And we say we want, but we do the opposites of everything, right? It is the land of the free, but how much does it cost to make things free? Okay, we sit back and say that, God loves everybody except this group. God loves everyone except these people over here, right? There was a thing where, Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Okay, without getting too much into this topic, I do want to bring up the fact that if you believe in Christianity and the way the Bible is written, and again, I know I got some people who are listening that are probably getting a little bit upset, but I don't really give a damn. You tuned into my show. In the Bible, in the beginning, there was nothing, right? Oh boy. Then you had Adam, right? And Adam's walking around butt ass naked, everything's swinging and hanging and swinging. And then all of a sudden there was Eve. Well, depending on what Bible you read, it was Lilith before Eve, but Lilith was Adam's equal. So we got rid of Lilith and we gave this more submissive, obedient woman named Eve, which was the rib of Adam. So if you're kind of paying attention, that right there says the message that men should be able to have the ability to give life, which we can't. So how can man give life to a woman, but we can't give life to children? That's another story. Okay, cool. So moving forward, you have Adam and Eve. Then you have Cain, Abel, and Seth. They had 3 sons, but most people don't really talk about Seth So we're just going to talk about Cain and Abel because for whatever reason, Cain and Abel sounds better. Well, Cain and Abel got older and they had wives and they had married and they had families. And everyone's like, yes, okay, well, the fact of the matter is this. Adam, Eve, Cain, Abel, father, mother, 2 sons. Where did the 2 sons' wives come from? Most people can't answer that question. And a lot of people refuse to answer that question. And if anyone who gets stuck on that question, they'll sit back and tell you, well, just read the Bible. Here's the problem. The Bible sit back and says Adam and Eve does not believe in any homosexuality. But allow the Bible to tell it the way it's written. It does encourage incest. I'm lost. I'm lost. Because when it comes to certain things in life, they say read the Bible, it'll tell you right then and there. But then when other issues you bring up that happen in the Bible, they'll sit back and say, well, you got to come up with your own conclusion. I think a lot of people cherry pick parts of the Bible that they want to believe and that they want to curse you out of. So remember, in the Old Testament, it's God killing everybody, right? He just slaying everybody. And then there's the New Testament where it's Jesus who's loving and sharing and just spreading the word and all that fun stuff, right? Okay, so I bring that up because how can you say God loves everyone, but then we include certain groups of people that we don't like and say, but not them though? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. So why do you hate someone over, in my mind, hating someone over a sexual preference is no different than hating somebody for the color of their skin, which is no different than hating somebody for the gender of their body. It just gives you a reason to hate. Okay. Now, one issue, like I said, when it comes to the law, I believe it was Joe Biden's first day. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I got to do this.
Political bullshit. So
his first day in office, he made an act to protect, I'm not going to do the acronym because I can't think of how to say it properly, but, like the gay, lesbian, trans, and queer community, right? Like it's a hate crime to go against them. Do you know how long it took for the anti-lynching bill to even get moved? As far as I remember, it just got approved this year, I think. I'm not even too certain on that. But I think what happens is when it comes to homosexuality, people tend to understand that a little bit better when it comes to racism. And these are talking about the ignorant people because they may know someone who is of a same-sex preference versus somebody of a different color preference. But then they have this fear, we're talking about other people, that your child may turn or be affected by. Someone made up a very good point when it comes to the thing. Again, I'm going to move on from this topic, is when it comes to cartoons, we have this issue about gay cartoon characters and gay animation and everything that's geared towards children. I get that. But how are we okay with the fact of something being pushed, like an agenda being pushed for heterosexuality to the same market? Because you're pushing heterosexuality on kids. You're pushing, why is this even something for children to even let kids be kids, bro? Like, what happens if there's a gay child who sees that? Well, now you're making that child, those children, ashamed of who they are. Now you're making them feel something's wrong with them. I can watch a movie with a gay character. I can watch a movie with gay characters. That's not going to make me say, maybe I should call one of my guy friends and see if he wants. No, it's not going to do that. It's not going to do that. Why? Because that's not who I am. What it does, it allows the gamut of people to express themselves and who they are. And that's basically what it should be about. Because I just don't get it. I don't get why they have to have a straight pride month. You have 12 months of heterosexuality. Why do you got to flex that on somebody else? And it almost seems like the people who are creating these issues, these laws, this awareness, they feel threatened. They feel scared. They almost feel outnumbered. It seems like they feel they're the minority in this, and they don't like it, which is has a paradox in itself, right? They don't like the feeling of a minority because things aren't going their way. Welcome to the membership, brothers and sisters. Sometimes life is like that when it comes to certain things. So I don't know. I just feel like, when it comes to that type of stuff, man, I just want to get that out the way. I feel who cares who you fall in love with? And again, I know there's going to be someone who has a problem with it, and you can have the right to have a problem with that. That's cool with me, because Lord, behold, if your child turns out to be exactly what you say you can't stand, what do you do then? You disown your child? Do you cut your child out of everything? Well, then you didn't love that child. You love what that child was supposed to be. You don't love your child for who they are. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. We have this phobia of what we think is right. And that's a very slippery slope when it comes to what's right and what's wrong, ladies and gentlemen, because who in the hell has all the right answers? Because every situation is going to be different. So, and again, when you start getting into all that kind of stuff, there's levels to it, and I understand it. But when it comes to that kind of thing, I don't know, man. I just can't wrap my head around having ill feelings towards somebody who is in love with someone that I'm not. That's getting mad at a celebrity because they're married to somebody that I want to be married to. Well, that person took their shot and made it. I didn't even get to the game. So step my game up in order to be in that point. So anyway, that's what I wanted to get out the way first and foremost. Like I said, that wasn't even the first thing I wanted to address here in the podcast, but it kind of ties into it. So it ties into exactly what it was that I wanted to get into. But so the first thing I wanted to talk about here is cycles continue because people refuse to break them. And that's how it ties into it. There's plenty of cycles, man, that we all have, whether it's from the way we were raised, whether it's from our environment, whether it's from the way we think, whether it's from the options and resources that we have, whatever the case may possibly be. There's just certain cycles. And my homegirl Cuffy, she know who she is, posted a meme, and I stole this from her. And it said, you know why kids bully? Because adults bully. But no one wants to have that kind of conversation. So I told her, we're going to have that conversation on my podcast. Kids emulate what they see adults doing. And this is kind of how the last topic that I opened the podcast up with ties into. Kids emulate what they see. So if they see parents and adults acting a certain type of way, they're going to mirror that. And a lot of folks, my generation, this generation, the previous generation, people in general, nobody wants to be proven wrong. So it's one of those scenarios where you see yourself do something and your kid calls you out. That's probably one of the most annoying things for some parents, because the kid's supposed to just stay in the kid's place. But when a child calls you out for doing something that they know you're not supposed to be doing because you raised them that that's the wrong thing to do, the last thing you want to do is get mad at your child. First thing you want to do is acknowledge your child, like, you know what, you are right and I am wrong. Daddy is wrong for that. Thank you, baby. Thank you. Good on you. You know what? Mommy is wrong, and I'm glad you caught that. I'm glad you caught that. You are going to make the world a better place because thank you for putting mommy in her place. That's what we should do. And I think what happens is we get into this discomfort of change. So when our kids call us out on things that we teach them is right or wrong, we want to check them for checking us. That's an issue. That's a problem. Because then you teach your child the habits of do as I say, not as I do. And I be damned, I hated that growing up. I had a mother who would smoke cigarettes and tell me don't smoke. I had brothers who would sell drugs and tell me don't go to the streets. Drugs are bad, but you doing blow and chopping up crack on the living room table. So as a child, you don't understand necessarily why are you telling me not to, but you're doing the exact thing you told me not to. It almost makes you lose credibility with that child. It almost makes that child look at you like, what? So you kind of got to make sure you watch your P's and Q's with that. My brother used to do one of these things whenever he would be around me. He would, a swear jar. So every time he said a cuss word, 25 cents, right? And his whole habit was cursing whenever he felt like it. He was an adult. He can do that, right? And you could tell he started getting annoyed when he realized how much money he was losing to his little brother because I was on him. Eventually, he stopped paying me. I'll never forget that. And I remember as a child, it made me say, wow, he must be really bad at it because he doesn't want to give me money. So it kind of made me understand that some people are just do as I say and not as I do. And again, that creates habits, that creates routine that can make or break a child's thinking. And we talk about how we want to change the world, but nobody wants to do anything within themselves to be that change that they want to see, that they claim that they're doing, right? And you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that your habits are things that you create. It's 21 days to create a habit, 21 days to break one. So it's habit and integrity. Integrity is doing things when people are not around and no one's watching. Right, so are you doing the things that you preach when there's no one around to watch you? Or are you only doing it when the spotlight is on? That's the hard part because everybody wants the credit and the recognition. So when you are driving, are you using your turn signal? Are you stopping at that stop sign? Are you running that yellow light knowing it's about to turn red before you get to the intersection? What is it that you are doing? You know, it's stuff like that, man, that you got to make sure that you kind of keep your P's and Q's dotted and crossed. Because if someone calls you out on it, they're calling you out on it for a reason. And if you happen to be the person who gets upset and bothered by that being called out, well, that's an internal problem within yourself. And you know, you need something to do with that. Definitely. So the next thing I want to bring up, let me see this here. It says, this is good. I was having a conversation with my friend in Europe over the pond, and man, it's a meme. We live in a time where intelligent people are being silenced so the stupid people won't get offended. This is, man, can we get some recognition for that? I mean, for real. Seriously. And if anyone has a problem with anything I've said so far,
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
not at all. Not at all. I'm not too hard to find, and you know me, I'm willing to travel. When it comes to people being offended, there's a difference between being offended and a difference between crying wolf. Thick skin, thin skin, super sensitive, empathy. Okay? There's a difference when it comes to fact and a collective opinion that people agree on. Come on, y'all. You gotta know the difference. There's a lot of people who actually have informed opinions versus uninformed opinions. When it comes to political conversations, most people don't have informed opinions. They have uninformed, ignorant, emotional bias opinions. Lord knows I was one of them. My homegirl Gorga, yes, Aaron, I'm putting you on blast. She posted a video, and it was of a comedian where he basically says, we don't know shit about any of the other amendments, just the first two. And he got to make the comment, he's like, what about the Seventh Amendment when it comes to like about federal state taxes are illegal to be taken out of anything that's purchased over $20 or under $20? And somebody's like, is that the Fifth Amendment? Like, no, that's not the Fifth Amendment. That's the Seventh Amendment. And everyone in the crowd was kind of like, oh, okay, damn, I didn't know that. He's like, oh, maybe it's not. Who fucking knows? Y'all don't know. You don't pay attention. A lot of us refuse to read because reading takes forever. It takes too long. It's not a meme. It's not educated. And I've said for the last 5 years, people rather be entertained than educated. That's why memes are so popular. And if you have a think piece meme, some people want to take sarcastic to that because they don't want to think. They want to be entertained. And if you entertain me and I like you and we agree, that makes us right. Right? So when it comes to having opinion, you should at least have read something, not the comment section on social media, but the article. Matter of fact, the beauty about reading is you should read multiple perspectives of whatever the topic is, right? If you are a Republican, you just don't want to read right-winged information. That's bias. You want to also include Democratic pieces so you can see what the other perspective is also saying. So when someone makes an argument against your point, you not only know where the perspective is coming from, but you also will have a better understanding if they're educated in this conversation. Listen, the man who refuses to read has no advantage over the man who cannot. And a lot of people choose not to read. And it's another reason why our country is in a situation, because like Chris Rock said back in 1996, we just keeping it real, right? And what does keeping it real means? It means real dumb. Nobody wants to know anything. And I think nobody wants to know anything because they feel that their uninformed opinion may actually be corrected. They don't want to see themselves standing with egg on their face, right? They don't want to be wrong. And so they choose to ignore things that possibly can correct their way of thinking. So they bypass that. And that's how a lot of situations happen, because we refuse to look at the other perspective and possibly learn that the truth is somewhere right down the middle. It's amazing how many people on social media will get into an argument with an athlete about that athlete with that athlete. Twitter's a joy. Insert sarcasm. An athlete would have a bad game or have a video played and someone puts a clip of this video, no one watched the video. They just kind of watched the heading, they read the comments, and they form their opinion based on what they know about the athlete. And so when the athlete comes out to defend him or herself, or the entertainer, the actor, the actress, even the politician, your decision is based on what you just did. But if you watch the whole clip, you'll understand the content and the context of what that video that you just saw tends to be leaving out. It's amazing how, because we got so fast at having access to information, we literally choose not to utilize all of it. It's kind of crazy. But you'll notice in most conversations on social media, you could kind of tell the person with the education, the more informed or education perspective. This isn't always the case, but in most cases, you could tell who it is because they're the one they're the person who's receiving the least amount of engagement. Because nobody wants to be educated. They all want to be entertained. Everybody wants to make comments based on receiving likes and follows and friends and all this other shit. Okay, that's kind of where it's at. So we have to learn how to break these cycles. We have to learn how to be a little bit more informed with our pieces of opinion. And we have to be a little bit more open-minded. Listen, there's a few more things I want to get to, but I don't want to bore you guys anymore with this podcast. I try to make it at least 30 to 45 minutes. Shout out to Mr. Adam Smith with the martial arts school out there in Elk Grove. Again, it is Warriors Martial Arts. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram, Warriors Martial Arts 1. Talk to you guys Monday, 3:30. We out.
E.I.T.H.R con E.I.T.H.R.
Yo, what up, folks? This is Rodney Farrell, the CEO of Farrell Development Group, and you're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast, hosted by E.I.T.H.R. Let's get it.